Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Fire Me channel. So today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite companies. This is highly speculative, but to me it's as exciting as what Tesla is for the people that follow that, and that is Virgin Galactic. So for those of you who've been following the channel, you'll know that I've covered Virgin Galactic in a couple of previous videos. So make sure to check those out if you haven't already. But there's some interesting updates. So they've been very successful recently with testing their glider in New Mexico. We've had multiple successful tests done now. That's actually where they've got a bit of a launch pad and slash base, I guess, is in New Mexico. And the other thing that is extremely exciting, and I think that this is going to help propel this company into the future, they've just signed a deal with NASA to train people, basically civilians, to go to the International Space Station, space flights. They never disclosed how much that deal's worth, but I'm sure based on the risk, complexity, and everything else that goes along with this, it was probably worth a significant amount of money. Now, the interesting thing is Virgin Galactic is designed to go into low Earth orbit, basically where the space station is, and eventually it sounds like they're going to be partnering with NASA to actually bring people to the space station for space tourism. I'm sure this will bring some kind of revenue to NASA as well. They definitely wouldn't be doing that for free, and obviously that would be for the ultra rich, but hey, that's okay. This is a huge leap forward with technology to have the average person be able to go into subspace flight. So really excited about that. So basically there's three companies trying to get people into space that are privately owned. So Virgin Galactic, which we have been talking about, SpaceX, which is run by Elon Musk, and I believe the other one's called JetBlue, which is founded by Jeff Bezos. But Richard Branson, who's running Virgin Galactic, is the only one that has taken his company public at this point. Now, you know, obviously there's this really cool allure of traveling in space and all the rest of it, but I think the real benefit of this is going to be intercontinental travel. So I've mentioned this in all my previous videos, but I'll mention it again, and because I think this is really the future of this company and where they're going to make their money. So basically, instead of taking 22 hours to fly, say from the US to Australia, you'd be able to fly in the space or low orbit and actually make that trip in about 3 to 3.5 hours. So huge benefit to the commercial travel industry. You know, I think a lot more people would be willing to travel to these further distances and further away places if the travel time wasn't so expansive and you didn't have to make 2 or 3 layovers and all the rest of it. So that would be really cool. The other thing too, it's got to be hugely beneficial to the environment to have a jet in the air for 3 to 3.5 hours to make that trip versus 20 hours. So I would imagine there's a huge fuel savings in terms of jet fuel. You know, obviously there's probably some offsetting fuel consumption for getting into that lower orbit, but it can't be as much as burning jet fuel for 20 plus hours. Now, another interesting thing with Virgin Galactic, their base is in New Mexico, and they've recently completed their second successful glider land, basically the spacecraft coming back from low orbit into the desert without having any significant problems. So this thing is marching along really quickly. Now with this coronavirus issue, I don't think it's going to affect the company because they're not taking hundreds and hundreds of passengers. This is like a one crew, one person kind of trip if you are able to get it or afford it at this point. So I don't think that's going to be really an issue for them, and by the time this thing gets scaled, hopefully we have a vaccine by then and we'll be well into the future. The other thing too, they are very well capitalized. I believe it was 2.5 to 3 years that they could sustain themselves without having to raise more money. So by then, 2.5 to 3 years at the pace they're going, they could probably be in a position where they're have a path to profitability and maybe even making money by then. Richard Branson, for those of you who haven't heard of him, is an incredibly successful businessman. He owns radio stations, airlines, you name it. He's got a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, and he's done very well. So if anyone's going to make this happen, it definitely would be him. So anyways, leave your comments below about Space or Virgin Galactic, and if there's anything else that you guys are interested in for it. Another company I'm going to be reviewing soon that was kind of been off my radar, but it maybe should have been on it before. I hadn't really paid attention to it, is Nicola. For those of you who haven't heard of them, they're kind of a competitor to Tesla, except for they've got a bit of a hybrid model, except for their hybrid model is hydrogen and electricity. And there's a few huge benefits of that model versus pure electric, such as longer, basically you can drive longer, like for semi-truck specifically. Tesla Semi is good for 1 shift or 8 hours, whereas these hydrogen-powered semis can run for a full cycle, which is 3 8-hour shifts without having to refuel. So huge advantages to it. I'm going to research them a bit more, and we'll be doing another video hopefully in the next month or so on them once I learn a bit more about them. But really interesting. For those of you who haven't heard of them, they just became public recently. And the other thing that I think this Nicola's got a huge advantage over Tesla with is their pickup truck. So everyone's seen Elon Musk's pickup. You know, it doesn't really look like a conventional truck. Some people like it, but you're not going to sell too many of those to the average farmer, rancher, tradesman who needs a pickup. However, this Nicola Badger, it's basically a regular pickup truck that you would see from Ford or GM, except for with the hydrogen electric engine or fuel source or whatever. I don't even know what you call these things now. Yeah, so anyways, I think that would have a lot higher probability of success with the general market. Anything that looks and functions like a normal pickup truck, I don't know if most people would even care what the fuel source was, but it's definitely, I think, going to be comparable to the F-150 or a GMC Sierra. So check out their website if you haven't already. You can see the pictures of their semis. Their semis look more conventional as well. The pickup truck looks more conventional, but they have this unbelievable technology. I think they'll probably take a bit of time, like Tesla did, to work the kinks out. But you know, the CEO is pretty enthusiastic. Hopefully the technology is there and scaled to be able to run these vehicles. And I think you know, the more we get into these alternative fuel sources, the more you're going to see companies like this pop up. So anyways, I will do my research. I'll get back to you on that one. But in the meantime, I hope you guys are enjoying the coverage of Virgin Galactic, and we'll keep our eye on what they're doing and kind of report back, so just in case you guys aren't really following them that close. But definitely really excited. If I had $1 million in our portfolio right now to do with whatever I wanted, I'd probably put 5 or 10% on this Virgin Galactic, just because I think it is I do think it has the potential to be a massive breakout once they get this thing scaled and figured out. Right now they're kind of, I'm going to call it the prototype phase, where they're just getting the technology figured out, how everything's going to work. But once they figure out how to do these intercontinental flights in subspace, I mean, the sky's the limit at that point. There's so many flights going around the world, it's unbelievable. So anyways, hope you guys are staying safe. Don't go too crazy if you're still working from home, and we will see you guys in the next video.